Moments when the Vietnam War went crazy, distilled from Apocalypse Now, one of the most eagerly awaited films of the year, and one of 4 new films we'll be reviewing on Sneak Previews, 2 film critics looking at the new movies in town. Across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, the film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And this is Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, in addition to Apocalypse Now, which we're going to have a big disagreement about, we'll also be reviewing 2 films about male-female relationships, Burt Reynolds and Jill Clayburgh in Starting Over, and Julie Andrews and Dudley Moore in the movie 10. Also, a thriller about a vicious phone caller, When a Stranger Calls. But now, Roger begins with 10.
And I might begin with a word of explanation about that title. You remember how in high school we used to ask each other how a girl rated on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, Blake Edwards' new comedy 10 stars the British comedian Dudley Moore, who's minding his own business one day, driving down the street, when suddenly he sees the most beautiful girl in the world in the next car. Now, she's so beautiful that on a scale of 1 to 10, she rates an 11. A couple of problems, though. One little problem is that the girl is on her way to the church to get married. The other little problem is that Dudley Moore already has a long-standing relationship with Julie Andrews, who's an island of sanity in his otherwise chaotic life.
Oh. Dad! Oh! God! Oh! Ow!
Hey, I see him. What's he doing?
Oh, come on, George.
Did you ever have one of those days? Well, anyway, Dudley Moore forgets about Julie Andrews for the time being, and he concentrates his energies on following the most beautiful girl in the world, and he finds her, too. Through an amazing series of coincidences, they both wind up at the same expensive resort in Mexico, where Moore finds the sand a little hot for his feet.
Oh. Oh. Sorry. I think I'll go out and get a surfboard. Damn! Damn! Ow!
That was Bo Derek as the inspiration for all of Dudley Moore's fantasies, and there are a lot of fantasies in Tin, which I think is one of the best comedies of the year, a movie that moves so confidently between moods that it always seems one step ahead of us. It's very funny, yes, I think it's the funniest movie ever directed by Blake Edwards, and he's made all of the Pink Panther comedies, but it has a lot of truth, too, about love and human nature in it. One of the funny things about it is that you sit there for 2 hours laughing, and then at the end of the film you think, this has been kind of a subtle performance. There's a lot of poignancy in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's actually less of a comedy. I mean, that Rolling Down the Hill didn't make me laugh. I'm intrigued by this guy's predicament. He's about 42 years old. He has a birthday party. That freaks him out. He has sort of a change of life. Call it male menopause if you want. He's worried about if he's getting everything that he can, and then he sees this unattainable object, and that sets up a whole conflict with him trying to be an adolescent, grabbing at this unreachable girl, and also trying to be an adult and dealing with Julie Andrews. The guy has not grown up. It's a real good, serious investigation of what it's like to be an adolescent, what it's like to be an adult. I found it an intriguing
film. It's a good movie, and really one of the things that makes it good, I think, is that performance by Dudley Moore. Here's a guy who in real life, I think, is 44 years old. He's a British comedian. He's been around for a long time as he's been part of a comedy team with Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, but we've never seen him in a lead before. And he's got to do a lot of acting in this film. There are so many different moods and kinds of scenes that he has to get into. And I was really carried along. I cared about him. I think Dudley Moore is a star in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't know whether he was going to end up with Julie Andrews or not. And I must say, I don't know whether he should have or whether he should have still gone after that girl. The girl's not just she looks gorgeous on the surface, but...
definitely 11 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yes, but what she has to say to him in the bedroom, in the hotel, is serious stuff. So I'm going to say it's a better serious film than I think it really is a comedy. Now we got to switch the subject to scary movies. I think that scary movies are really about the easiest films to make. All you do is show someone afraid of being attacked and then have somebody else attack them. That's why my standards for scary movies are real high. The best scary movies, I think, have to have a little fun in them to make them special and not just be ponderously shocking, like When a Stranger Calls, which is about a vicious crackpot who terrorizes babysitter Carol Kane by calling her and asking if she's checked the children.
Hello?
It's me.
I know. Who are you? I'm not going to be here much longer. Dr. Mandrakis and his wife are coming home.
I know.
Can you see me?
Yes.
You don't know who I am or where I live. And Dr. Mandrakis will take me home, or maybe even the police.
You've called the police.
I want to talk to you.
Sergeant Sacker, listen to me. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Our squad car's on the way over there right now. Just get out of that house. Jill? Jill?
That guy at the end, it's just a trick on the audience. It's a police detective, but the filmmaker makes him look like a potential killer. Just a trick. It turns out the real phone caller is a real killer, and we get a bloody shot of the murdered children in bed. Boy, is that cheap, huh? I thought When a Stranger Calls was unusually cruel, terrorizing women and portraying them as weak and defenseless, cowering in corners. They even cast Carol Kane with her little ringlets so she looks like a little girl, maybe a teenager. Real vicious picture. Depressing. Violent movie.
And not very well made either.
No.
I think there are times, and maybe Halloween is one of those times, when we want to go see a scary movie. Last year at this time, we had a good scary movie. It was called Halloween. It had a lot of great camera angles, had a lot of great style to it, had a great feeling to it.
It was shot in daytime and dark, very exciting. This picture...
Yeah, it scared you. This movie is an insult to your intelligence. You sit there and you say, I'm supposed to be afraid of this, I'm supposed to be scared by this. Anyone who goes to see movies like this is going to say this is really second rate.
Yeah, it's because all the scares are the same way. He's there, he isn't there, and then when he isn't there, then he comes again. I mean,
and at the end of the film, you have that unbelievable coincidence. Years later, you sit there and you say, come on, are we going to accept this? We can't, you know.
I want to just stress this point about portraying women as these defenseless creatures.
Yeah.
That's as cruel a stereotype as anything. Any race that gets stereotypically shown in the movies, women as these little indefensible
Let's have
creatures.
a movie in which the guy is a guy is a babysitter. The phone rings and it's some girl who's looking at him through the window.
Like to
or
see
something.
that.
Right. Let's change the subject totally to a movie that is has a little more respect for women anyway.
Yeah.
A complete change of pace otherwise. It's a new comedy called Starting Over. A comedy that seems to have all the right ingredients anyway, but somehow it seemed pretty lightweight to me. The movie stars Burt Reynolds as an earnestly middle-aged guy who gets divorced from Candace Bergen. Then he has to figure out all over again how to exist as a single man. He moves into a bachelor apartment, and then he finds an attractive new woman who's played by Jill Clayburgh.
You want to go out tomorrow night?
How long have you been separated?
1 month. You want to go out tomorrow night?
No. Look, I mean, really, you have been separated for a very short time. Marvin knows how I feel about that. I guess that's why she didn't... Anyway, it's a very intense time
I'm
for
not
you.
that intense.
Well, a little intense.
I'm a little intense.
Right.
Forget it.
Look, in the old days, I'd have already been calling my girlfriends to tell them about you. So don't feel bad. In fact, I'd like it if you called me later on.
How much later?
Oh, 3, 4 months.
You know anybody I can go out with now?
It's an excellent question. That's kind of a new Burt Reynolds there, a little bit more low-key and kind of a little boyish than he is in some of his other movies. One of Reynolds' problems in this movie is that he still sort of loves his ex-wife, who is played by Candace Bergen. Or at least he still has lust in his heart for her, or you might say he wouldn't mind trying to start all over again, which is what the movie is about. So he gives his marriage another chance, but this time she seems to be trying too hard. She's a liberated feminist would-be songwriter who tries to seduce him with her latest composition, and it's just too bad that she can't sing.
Better than ever. This time forever. Baby, I missed your tender touch. I've been out on my own and I learned so much. Come on, let me show you. Come on, let me hold you. Don't be scared of what might come of this. I've been saving up all my tenderness. Better than ever. It's got to be better. Hey, hey, hey. Better than ever. It's got to be better.
Have you lost your marbles?
Hey. Look at us. We're a couple.
Yeah, but somehow I have the feeling they're not going to be a couple for long. Starting Over does have a lot of good people in it. Jill Clayburgh is a fascinating, complicated actress, and Burt Reynolds plays an interesting character in this movie. He's shy and insecure and very sincere about everything. But Starting Over never seems to go anywhere. We never get the feeling we really know what he feels about his wife or how his girlfriend feels about him. There's not the feeling here that anybody has anything real to lose. What do they have at stake in this movie?
Well, I find 2 of the characters very interesting, and the one who isn't interesting is the one who can't sing. I think
I kind of guessed her,
yeah. She's awful in this picture. But Reynolds, he's an interesting guy. Divorced, and afraid of not being with a woman, so he's ready to rush into another relationship. Clayburgh, just the opposite. She's divorced, but she's afraid of getting involved with someone else. She doesn't want to get burned. That tension between them, will they get together? She's willing to delay it. He is, after all, Burt Reynolds. The fact that she's not interested in him, but obviously yes interested in him, that's an interesting tension. I'm surprised that you didn't find their relationship attractive.
I didn't, and I think you know what I might have been thinking of. Jill Clayburgh is in this picture. She's a reminder of a movie that came out last year, a very good film called An Unmarried Woman. If you remember that film, this movie, starting over, really puts Burt Reynolds in the Jill Clayburgh role. It puts him in the middle. And he is an unmarried man. And so the problem is we want to say, what is he coming away from? What was his first marriage like? What did he have at stake in that marriage? And we don't know. The scene that we just saw with Candice Bergen behaving like that really confuses us. We sit in the audience and we say, what is the movie telling us about this character?
She's a total loss. But to be fair, she's not on screen that much. And if she were on less, it would be a better picture. But the two of them together, they are interesting, and they do point to one interesting fact, which is this notion of being divorced, how it can twist you in two ways, and neither one of them are pretty attractive ways to live.
Well, I must say, you liked the movie more than I did. I saw good things in it, but it didn't really commit me to these characters at all.
So a slight division, a bigger division now when we talk about one of the most talked about films in years, Francis Coppola's Vietnam War film, Apocalypse Now. It's almost been 10 years in the making, one of the first Vietnam War films conceived, but yet it's going to be one of the last big ones, I'm afraid, to be released. It's the story of a young Army captain, Martin Sheen, being sent up a river to Cambodia to kill a renegade Army colonel, Marlon Brando, who's been disobeying orders and has set up his own jungle kingdom. Now, Martin Sheen is a bit surprised when he encounters the cavalier attitude of the soldiers accompanying him up the river.
The President of the United States, baby. That's where I'm going. Hey, Sheriff, put the cover on that. Clean.
How long has that kid been on this boat?
7 months.
He's really specializing in busting my...
Very possible, Captain. He thinks the same of you.
Oh, yeah? What do you think, Chief?
I don't think. My orders say I'm not supposed to know where I'm taking this boat, so I don't. But one look at you and I know it's going to be hot, wherever it is.
We're going upriver about 75 clicks above the Dolong Bridge.
That's Cambodia, Captain.
That's classified. We're not supposed to be in Cambodia, but that's where I'm going. You just get me close to my destination and I'll cut you and the crew loose.
All right, Captain.
Farther up the river, Sheen encounters a warmongering Army Colonel, Robert Duvall, who says he loves the smell of napalm. He says it smells like victory. And he also loves to play Wagner over his helicopter's loudspeaker while leading his men into battle.
We've got it spotted. Big Duke 60, Eagle thrust. Put on heading 270. Assume attack formation. That's a roger, Big Duke. Okay, we're going to We'll come in low out of the rising sun, and about a mile out, we'll put on the music. Music? Yeah, use Wagner. It scares the hell out of the slopes. My boys love it. Hey, we're gonna play music. How come all you guys sit on your helmet?
Don't get a phone off.
Big Duke 60, Eagle thrust. Put on Cywar off. Make it loud. This is a Romeo Foxtrot. Shall we dance? Jimmy! Yes, sir!
Well, so far, the film's anti-war attitude is clear, but it gets awfully murky when Sheen finally makes it all the way up the river. He's placed in a bamboo prison by Marlon Brando's followers and is lectured by one of them Dennis Hopper.
There's something happening out here, man. You know something, man? I know something that you don't know. That's right, Jack. The man is clear in his mind, but his soul is mad. Oh, yeah. He's dying, I think. He hates all this. He hates it. But the man's, he reads poetry out loud, all right? And a voice. A voice. He likes you because you're still alive. He's got plans for you. No, no. I'm not gonna help you. You're gonna help him, man. You're gonna help him.
Well, he's certainly been screwed up by the war. Now, this is a very big film that tries to say a lot of conventional things about the war, about the arrogance of our war effort. That part of the film is very colorful, impressive, sometimes even memorable. But Apocalypse Now is also after a much bigger target, nothing less, I think, than a speculation on the nature and source of good and evil in the world, how the war came about. On that score, I think it fails completely. The Brando character, who we wait for 2 hours to meet, has nothing to say, and we walk out of Apocalypse Now wondering, what's the big deal?
I thought it was a pretty good deal. I think that right here we have one of the more fundamental disagreements we've ever had in doing this show. I think, first of all, as a broad statement, Apocalypse Now is a very good film, very much worth seeing. Then to address myself more to what you said, I think the ending of this film is going to be debated for the next 50 years, whether or not the Brando character works, whether the last half hour works. I think we can save ourselves a lot of time if I admit to you right now that although I think the last half hour works, I doubt if I can ever convince you of that, and that the first 2 hours of the film are certainly among the most, consist of some of the most beautiful, heartbreaking, tragic, memorable footage of war that I've ever seen.
And you're referring to things like the helicopter with the music.
Yes,
let me tell you,
right.
Raj, that I don't think it's such a big achievement to make a heart-rending film about Vietnam. I think that America is so conflicted about the war. The people who served feel bad about it. The people who didn't serve feel bad about it. The people who didn't stop it. I think that you can show almost anything to do with Vietnam and people feel, oh my God, the human waste.
That may be true, but on the other hand, this movie is made on such an epic scale. The filmmaking is so good. The performances, particularly by Martin Sheen and Robert Duvall, are so good that we don't see stuff like this every day. This is an extraordinary event.
I wish that I could say that to you. There's a couple of times when my heart was broken in a special way, when one guy kills a Vietnamese woman. But other than that, I thought this was the same old standard Vietnam stuff, yes, done on a bigger scale with a bigger budget, but the big payoff, and this is the ending is unfortunately there. There is a journey up the river, and we get there. Brando has nothing.
The ending didn't work for you. It worked more for me. I think that essentially the two of us are representing the two basic attitudes toward this film. Some people think the ending doesn't work and it's just another war movie. Other people think that it transcends other war movies. It's a little better, a little more brilliant, a little more important. I'm in that camp.
Okay, and I guess I'm saying to people, if they go and they wonder what the heck is the ending about, I'm with them. I wondered too.
Well, Gene, here's somebody who never has to wonder, Spot the Wonder Dog, who leaps into the balcony and announces it's time for Dog of the Week, where we both picked the week's two worst movies.
Well, Roger, my dog this week is a really sick disaster film called City on Fire. It's about a fire set by an employee who's been ash-canned by the refinery where he works. The fire spreads across town and threatens a hospital. It also burns a photographer who's trying to get some precious pictures out of his laboratory. Yeah, it's not enough he gets set on fire. He has to get hit by a car yet. You like to see second and third degree burns and close-ups, learn a little bit about salves and wounds? You're going to love City on Fire.
It really sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My dog this week is The Seven Brothers Meet Dracula. Now, this is a movie in which old kung fu footage is made magically into Dracula material by the brilliant masterstroke of simply telling us in a prologue that Dracula in this film has transferred himself into the body of a kung fu warrior. So every time we see a kung fu fight, that's supposed to be Dracula fighting. Really brilliant. Peter Cushing, who's the veteran of a lot of Dracula movies, plays the immortal Dr. Van Helsing, but here's another curious thing about this movie. He's not really in the same film with the kung fu stuff. He keeps saying things like, look over there, and everybody does. And he says, look over here, and everybody looks over here. But they never seem to be in the same scene with him, maybe because he never quite made it to Hong Kong during the filming.
You know, if they were going to cheat like that, they could have had one of the Kung Fu Warriors say he's Clark Gable, another one say I'm Vivian Lee, and remake Gone with the Wind. So much for the dogs. Now to recap our reactions to the main movies on this show. Both Roger and I thoroughly enjoy the wistful comedy 10 with Dudley Moore going through a change of life. There's a yes next to both of our names. We both recommend you see this movie. It's rated R. We also agree on the phone call thriller When a Stranger Calls. It's cruel, violent trash. We both say no to that. We split on Starting Over with Burt Reynolds as an unmarried man. I like 2/3 of the movie, everything but Candace Bergen. I say yes. Roger thinks the movie never makes it clear what the characters think about each other. He says no. We strongly split on Francis Coppola's Vietnam film Apocalypse Now. Roger thinks it's a brilliant film on the Vietnam War. I think it's a big disappointment, a film that loses its clarity and conviction at the very end. Roger says yes, I say no.
And that's it for this show. Next week on Sneak Previews, we'll have a special Take Two program where Gene and I will take a second look at monsters in the movies, at the difference between what scared us years ago and what scares us now. And then, in 2 weeks, we'll be back with reviews of 5 new films, including the disaster movie Meteor, starring Sean Connery, Jill Clayburgh in the controversial new drama Luna, and Al Pacino as an outspoken lawyer in And Justice for All. Till then, see you at the movies.
Funding for Sneak Previews was provided by this station and by other public television stations.